What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 1600 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East and Eastern Europe. So what you're looking at here is the flight path of a U.S. Air Force RQ-4 Global Hawk in eastern Poland along the border of Belarus, and it's been up there since early this morning. And in addition to that, we have an Iranian government plane leaving Minsk in Belarus. This is very unusual, but this U.S. Air Force recon plane doing these loops here along the border of Belarus is very, very unusual. Normally what they'll do is they'll kind of take a more general observation pattern and they'll fly in northern Poland and eastern Poland. But this drone is actually only focusing on eastern Poland along the border of Belarus. And if you watch KLW World News, aka Lee Wheelbarger, he's been saying for months now that the Russians have deployed dozens and dozens of missile systems along the border with Poland, and they have positioned artillery. We know that Belarus has been redeploying a massive number of troops and equipment to the western part of their country, close to the border of Poland. And last night, Lee Wheelbarger, citing one of his intelligence sources in Germany, said that the Polish military has pulled back their troops 10 miles from the border with Belarus, basically creating a buffer zone in case Belarus and Russia start to lob artillery into Poland. The Polish troops are out of artillery range, okay? And so KLW World News, aka Lee Wheelbarger, did a video on this last night on his Rumble, and today we see the U.S. keeping an eye on this area here, the border of Poland and Belarus, and he reported that his intelligence source in Germany told him that the Polish military has withdrawn their forces 10 miles from the border with Belarus. So this is very, very concerning. Now, last week, the Polish Prime Minister said that Poland is going to start mandatory military training for every adult male in Poland. He wants all men in Poland to have military training in the event of an invasion. They can be called up as reserves, or they can be used as National Guardsmen to protect Polish towns and cities. So this is very, very concerning. Poland is also going to be putting out some World War III survival manuals later this year. So guys, war is inevitable. There's not going to be any miraculous peace deal. And it does appear that Russia is preparing to attack Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, possibly Finland as well. Now, I want to just quickly switch gears to Iran. So the Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, posted on X this afternoon that if the U.S. makes any military moves against Iran, they're going to suffer retaliation. So he wrote here, if the U.S. and their agents make a wrong military move against Iran, they'll be the ones who will suffer the greatest loss. Wow. He also wrote, war isn't good. We're not seeking to start a war, but if someone takes any action, the response from us will be firm and definite. The U.S. threatens Iran with a military attack. Starting a war or inflicting a blow isn't something that can be done by one side without receiving a response. Iran is capable of carrying out a counterattack, and it will definitely inflict such a blow. If we had wanted to build nuclear weapons, the U.S. wouldn't have been able to stop us. The fact that we neither possess nor seek nuclear weapons is because we ourselves don't want to. So the supreme leader of Iran denying that Iran is developing nuclear weapons and saying that they will retaliate if they're attacked by the U.S. or Israel. So this is very, very concerning. And last night, in addition to this RQ-4 Global Hawk patrolling the border of Poland and Belarus, we also had a Swedish recon plane patrolling the border of Poland and Belarus. And then we also had this private recon plane operating for the U.S. government doing a giant loop around Kaliningrad and flying through the Suwalki Gap. So guys, get prepared. Okay, Russia is preparing to attack Poland and the Baltics. The head of Germany's intelligence service said earlier in the week in an interview with Bild that Russia is preparing to test Article 5. They want to see how effective Article 5 is. Okay, is it just a paper tiger, or is it something that is real? Okay, and so Russia could potentially just move into Lithuania, maybe just a small incursion, 10 or 20 miles, cross into Lithuania, okay, and sit there for a little bit and see what happens. Or they could do a full-on attack, which is what Lee Wheelbarger thinks they're going to do, because they've been positioning missile systems, air defenses, fighter jets in Kaliningrad and in Belarus. We know that this summer Russia is going to be moving 150,000 troops into Belarus, okay? So that is very, very concerning. And last night we had several Russian doomsday planes leave Moscow and go to different areas. One of these planes was Putin's doomsday plane, and it went up to St. Petersburg. And last night Russia struck a Barbados-flagged grain ship that was sitting in port in Ukraine, in Odessa, getting loaded with wheat, and 4 crew members were killed. Here you can see the damage to the hull. You can see that big charred section there, and you can see all the fragmentation damage to the side of the ship here. Okay, this is very, very concerning. Russia is now striking international ships in Odessa, okay, grain ships. And this is something that I saw that was really concerning. Okay, Putin made a personal visit to the Kursk region. And what's very interesting here is that he's dressed in BDU's battle dress uniform. And Putin never wears military clothing. I mean, it's very rare to see him wear military clothing. He prefers to wear nice suits. He's a very materialistic person. He likes to show off his money. Okay, and for him to be wearing BDUs, okay, to me it means that he's in a state of war now. Okay, he considers himself to be at war with NATO and the U.S. Okay, regardless of what the Western media tells you and what Trump is saying, that he's best buds with Putin and he gets along good with Putin and all that, but you can see Putin is in a state of war. In his mind, he's in a state of war. Okay, and here he is in the Kursk region. Okay, he visited some kind of bunker in the Kursk region. And here's Gerasimov, his top general. And here he was speaking to the local commanders there in Kursk. Okay, but you can clearly see him wearing BDUs. This is extremely unusual for Putin. And I think we're going to see Russia make more moves. Okay, Ukraine is just the beginning. Okay, he's going to go into the Baltics. He's going to go into Poland possibly, so get prepared. And right now we have a U.S. B-52 nuclear bomber airborne over Kansas. And all day today, we've had a steady stream of emergency action messages being broadcasted, which are nuclear codes sent out to U.S. nuclear forces from Strategic Command. So our nuclear forces are definitely on high alert for some reason, and we're still waiting to see what Russia's response will be to that massive drone attack on Russia 2 nights ago by Ukraine. Okay, 337 drones flying into Russia, over 90 in the Moscow region alone, causing a lot of damage. Russia is definitely going to respond. The question is when and how. Are they going to use Oreshniks? We'll have to wait and see. And this tanker collision that occurred in the North Sea, turns out that the captain was a Russian national. So if you're not aware of what happened, a U.S. Navy refueling vessel got hit by another vessel, and the captain of the vessel that hit the U.S. Navy refueling vessel was a Russian national, and he has now been arrested by UK authorities. Okay, so they're suspecting that this was an attack on this refuel tanker for the Navy, because apparently this is one of the only refuel tankers in that part of the world that the U.S. Navy has. Okay, so this is clearly an attack on the U.S., because there were dozens of other ships anchored in the same area waiting for their turn to enter port. And the probability of this Russian-commanded ship striking the U.S. military vessel out of all those ships is very small. So clearly, this U.S. Navy refueling ship was targeted by this captain, who was most likely working for the Russian military and the Russian secret services. So this is absolutely huge news, guys. I mean, this is basically an act of war. And this update was sponsored by NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com. And the link is in the description below this video. They're selling their 3-month emergency food supply for just $600. So that's $100 off the normal price. And this is 3 months of food at 2,000 calories per day. Has a shelf life of up to 25 years. And all of this is packed into 6 rugged water-resistant buckets. And free shipping is included. And they're also offering a disaster replacement warranty. So if your food supply gets destroyed by a natural disaster, they'll replace it for you with no charge. And they also will provide you with free survival books and information, including a natural disaster field guide, a survival Bible digital copy. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $100 off the NYPrepper Supply 3-month emergency food supply. And the link is in the description below this video. A Russian-commanded ship colliding with a U.S. Navy refueler in the North Sea. That is absolutely huge. And the French President Emmanuel Macron urged European and NATO military leaders on March 11th to develop a concrete plan for credible security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire. And he also hosted the chiefs of staff of 34 allied countries, excluding the U.S., okay? And speaking at a closed-door meeting in Paris with the chiefs of staff, Macron emphasized that Europe must throw its full weight behind Ukraine and itself. This was reported by Le Monde. Okay, so Macron is pushing full steam ahead with this rearming program for Europe. He's already offered to provide a nuclear umbrella for Europe in the absence of the U.S., and he hosted over 30 chiefs of staff. Okay, look at this, guys. This is clearly preparations for war. Okay, all the generals from NATO and allied countries meeting in Paris. Okay, this is absolutely historic. They're preparing for war. Okay, why else would you gather all of these generals in one place? Okay, that is very, very concerning. And then today, Macron hosted all of the defense ministers from NATO. Okay, so very, very serious, guys. NATO is preparing for war with Russia. And the White House confirmed today that the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz spoke with his Russian counterpart. And Bloomberg is reporting, citing Western officials, that Russian President Vladimir Putin has presented what are described as maximalist demands to end the conflict with Ukraine, which include Ukraine's neutrality, demilitarization, and recognition of Russian-held territories. Western security officials indicate that Putin is aware these demands are likely unacceptable to both Ukraine and Europe. Despite these reports, formal diplomatic talks are continuing in Saudi Arabia with the U.S. and Ukraine involved. Okay, so Putin doubling down on his demands of Ukraine being neutral, demilitarized, and that all of the Russian-held territories are officially Russian. Okay, so we'll see what happens with these peace talks. And then here's a picture of the defense ministers in Paris today. So get prepared, guys. Things are really escalating all over the world. And the French defense minister, Sébastien Lecornu, has expressed France's opposition to the demilitarization of Ukraine's armed forces, highlighting their role as a key security guarantee for Ukraine and Europe. He said this yesterday at the NATO Security Summit, to which the U.S. was not invited. Lecornu emphasized the need for a strategic, long-term vision for Ukraine's military to ensure continued security and peace in the region. And the U.S. ignored Ukraine's demands for security guarantees during negotiations in Saudi Arabia, according to the German news agency Die Welt. And the U.S. has fully restored intelligence sharing with Ukraine, according to a Ukrainian senior government official. And the transport of U.S. weapons to Ukraine through the Polish hub has resumed, according to the Polish deputy defense minister. And Maxar Corporation restored Ukraine's access to satellite imagery. And last night, Russia hit an administrative building in Kryvyi Rih with Iskander missiles. And the Russian Defense Ministry reported today that they took control of 5 more villages in the Kursk region. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, said the Russian army is effectively advancing in the Kursk region and that the dynamics are good. And Ukraine's most combat-ready brigades have started to withdraw from the Kursk region to avoid encirclement. And today, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said again that Russia will not accept under any condition the presence of NATO forces in Ukraine. He also said Russia and the U.S. have a very important task to normalize relations within the two countries. And the director of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Agency, Sergei Narishkin, and the head of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, agreed on regular contacts between their services to promote international stability and security and reduce confrontations between Moscow and Washington. They had a phone call today. And Germany's Volkswagen is considering manufacturing equipment for the German army as Europe accelerates its rearmament. And the Ontario Premier Doug Ford said he will be suspending the 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the U.S. and that he will travel to Washington on Thursday to meet with the Trump administration. And he was the guy that threatened to cut off electricity to New York and Michigan and Minnesota. And so he has now backtracked and he apologized for threatening to do that. And Trump said that he would reconsider the tariff hike on Canada for metals. And he also said he's not concerned by a stock market sell-off after the global steel and aluminum tariffs that he has now placed 25% tariffs globally on steel and aluminum. Every country that exports steel and aluminum to the U.S. is going to have to pay a 25% tariff. Okay, and that cost is going to be passed on to us, the consumer. So things are going to get more expensive. Cars, tools, whatever, anything made of steel and aluminum, the prices are going to go up because the exporters are going to have to raise their price to compensate for that 25% surcharge. Okay, and that's going to get passed on to us. And the Russian embassy in Australia stated that any deployment of Australian troops to Ukraine would lead to grave consequences. And North Korea says that U.S. and South Korean military drills that started recently could trigger the world's first nuclear war. And Iran's Navy commander calls Trump's claims of military supremacy over Russia, China, and Iran delusional as the three countries started joint drills off the coast of Iran until Israel reopens Gaza crossings for aid. And the Trump administration is weighing barring Cubans and Haitians from the U.S. as part of a new travel ban. And the International Criminal Court confirmed in a press release that the former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, was turned over to the custody of the International Criminal Court today by the authorities of the Philippines. So, wow. And last night we had this NATO AWACS plane patrolling the Black Sea coast in Romania. And very interesting flight here by a U.S. Air Force battlefield airborne communications node that flew along the border of Iraq and Iran. This is very, very unusual, clearly scoping out Iran in preparations for possible strikes on Iran by the U.S. military and Israel. And then here we have a U.S. Air Force RC-135 rivet joint reconnaissance plane that was patrolling the Taiwan Strait last night. And then we had this unknown military plane take off from Malta and do this large search grid pattern here just north of Libya. Very interesting. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with more breaking news. Make sure you follow me on Telegram, Twitter, and Rumble. The links are in the description below this video. Also, download my app from the Google Play Store. It is 100% free, and it lets me notify you when I post these updates, and also when there's breaking news, I can send you alerts directly to your phone. And we're currently working on an Apple version of the app, which is going to be coming out very soon. So until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.